dry docking.
Okay. So we're going to the model building where Jacque is going to explain.
This is one model building.
Okay.
This is a canal bed. Yeah, it's the basis of the canal. This machine would have laser beams to melt the earth underneath it into what they call glass, but it's a spongy glass. And the buildings are made in here, in the dry dock, but they're made on the float. This is a deep thing, like a boat.
Okay.
The buildings are constructed on a float, and when all the buildings are finished, we flood it with salt water from the ocean. And we float the buildings all the way out to where you want them. Then we use water jets under the building. That means the building is free to float on the water jets, and it takes 1 pound to move a ton of weight. So we strip the whole building off. I did one. These are the research labs.
Oh, okay.
They're built along the canal. And this machine brings this gadget and lowers it over the canal. But we don't lower it over this canal. We bend it and go back, so it doesn't obstruct the flow of traffic. These are photoelectric cells on the glass, and they convert the infrared rays to energy. Mm-hmm. So the water evaporates inside this, condenses on the ceiling and flows over, and we collect that water for drinking water. That's how these cells actually work.
Okay.
But we have other techniques too. We don't have to lift the building up and put it on there. We assemble the building on there. And a machine like this goes all along these buildings, putting in the windows and everything else. And this carries the center of gravity, like it carries it to where it goes, and then it lowers it over the canals. That's how we make our drinking water.
Is that the only job of this machine, to carry these instruments?
Yes, carry these units.
And how much would these instruments weigh, approximately?
I'd say about 2,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
So it's very easy to hydraulically lift it. Now, even the concrete, I don't know if I showed you, the concrete's about that thick, but the inside is full of air bubbles. We put chemical agents in the concrete, little pills, and that expands the gas. Only in the middle, but the concrete is solid on the walls, but the inside is like a sponge.
Okay. What's the purpose of that?
Make it lighter in weight.
Lighter in weight, but strong anyway.
Oh yeah, strong.
So it preserves material.
Yeah.
So the buildings are assembled on these dry docks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this shoots the laser.
Yeah, before this, there's another machine that digs the canals. It can change its shape and digs all the soil and pulls it up on the side. So the side of the canal prevents flooding, and you have a deeper canal.
Once the canals are dug, this shoots a laser that'll make it into what?
It makes it into a solid surface.
Solid surface.
Instead of mixing concrete, it's like what erupts in a volcano.
Yeah.
It's called obsidian. And that's a material that's made by volcanoes, melting rock and everything else into a base for the canal. And we bring the salt water in, we flood it, and if there's ever any flood or rain, we direct all this water to, you know what strip mining is? Made big holes in the earth where we did mining, and they look ugly. So we use that for storing flood waters.
Oh, okay.
So we have that water in case we need it for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we don't just have flooding of buildings. And most of the buildings that are in the flood region are capable of floating. Mm-hmm. So we don't lose the building.
Yeah.
They can float up. Like the lecture hall you were in, where we live.
Yes.
And this is 3 domes joined together, see it? And this is what's inside.
And you pour the cement material over and underneath it?
Underneath it first, so it doesn't fall through. So we do the bottom first, and then that's it. We have a slot in here, so the windows go up in the slot. You don't need to connect it with screws or anything. See that slot?
Yeah.
The windows go up in there, be higher, and go up in there, and they lock. We don't want anything sticking out. We want to mold it all in one. Okay. You have a power failure for a week. You'll lose all your food. But this keeps the lights going and the refrigerator.
But in the future also, there's probably going to be less refrigerators in homes and more restaurants where people go to eat, right? Okay.
Exactly.
It's more efficient that way.
Yes. And this is a bathroom with molded sink and toilet bowl right on the shower. And the wastewater from the sink goes down the drain, but goes in a tube and goes around and fills this closet in the back that you don't see.
Yes.
And you flush the john with it. And the bathrooms, like this sink, will have a box here for flushing the john. The wastewater in the sink flows into this box.
Yes.
And you flush the john with it. Now this is bent more than that. See it? Toilet bowl, sink, and shower, all one molded.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
And I told you what we do for the blind, remember?
You have this echolocation style sound.
They hear an open door because the sound bounces back.
Yes.
Just like a bat. A bat has very poor sight.
Yes.
But it can avoid everything in a way. The sound feedback. We're always working on heart disease, cystic fibrosis, whatever problems people have, we work on to try to solve those problems. And the doctors and all the people are taken care of. They're given what they need. But the bed sheets go around the bed with rollers. In the morning when you get up, it rolls the bed sheet down underneath it where it's cleaned and dried. And then it rolls back up in the morning. Do you understand?
Yes.
If there's anything you don't understand, you're supposed to interrupt me.
Okay, I will, yes.
This is called the Ford Tri-Motor. It was a transport before the airliners today.
Yes.
That's what they used to take passengers up in. This is called a Jenny. It's a training plane from World War I.
Oh, okay.
And I have to show kids that it doesn't begin like this. This is a late airplane.
Yeah.
Maybe the next 20 years they'll look like this. But I have to show them it goes through different stages to get there. And this is a standard helicopter. And it's turned from the middle. There's a motor under there that turns this blade. And it's very hard to turn it from the middle. But you put a small jet engine on the tip of the blades. I make it big here. Only I made it big, it'd be half that size. And that blows the blades around from the outside, which means there's less torque.
Less torque.
You know what torque is?
Yes.
And the center has two weights that move up like very fast, and that keeps the center from turning. So the center is stationary while the blades go around. Do you understand?
Yes.
And it has no surface. Like, the only thing that lifts this are the blades. The body is dead weight, and the blades turn this way, but the body tends to turn the other way. And this fan, see it?
Yes.
Holds it back. So you get a little bit of oscillation like that. With this, you don't get.
You don't get any oscillation.
It spins and takes off like that, then it shuts and moves forward. The thrust comes out the back. And this one has the same probe that the trains have. It discharges electrons. It causes the air molecules to open up so there's less air friction.
Air friction.
Yeah.
Displaces the air.
Projections, each particle, air molecule repels one another. So there's more open space.
Great, wow.
And instead of cutting into this and making ailerons, you know what they are?
Yeah.
The flaps that move.
Flaps on the airplane.
They have a rudder that moves. We have no rudder that moves. We discharge electrons from the wingtip, and that makes it bank. You don't need to cut any of your surfaces, but flaps that move.
Why do the airplanes of today don't put these mechanisms that discharge electrons on them? Why don't they adapt that already?
I don't know. They never got there yet. They will in the future. It's much cheaper to make one round roof running this way than all of these. And these are floating domes, float in the water. And the middle of the dome has a glass, maybe 6 feet in diameter. You can see the bottom of the water. But you can live in these domes, and if you're away and it begins to rain, it just closes over. The raindrops activate the circuit to close. You don't have to go back, oh my God, the porch is going to be wet when I get back there. You can't own 10 acres or 50 acres because you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
You're going to eventually die and it's going to belong to somebody else.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit what your loyalties are or your beliefs.
Yeah.
You must eventually join together.
Yes.
And if you don't, we'll kill each other. And that's transportation of fluids, like oil or gas or whatever you want. These are different tubes that transfer different fluids. So the animals can migrate through there. Mm-hmm. They're not cut out by that tube in the way.
Now, if people are living in a house and they want to go to another part of the world, can they contact somebody from another part of the world? Be like, do you want to swap houses?
Yes.
Okay.
They're free. They don't. Later on into the Venus Project, they won't have jobs anymore. Mm-hmm. So you can go back to school and study whatever you want.
Yeah.
Art, music, anything you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's up to you, what you want to do with your life. The chair is made this way. Your ass is round.
Yeah.
And the back has to be shaped like the human back.
Yeah.
And this is a chair in the future. Without any surface that does nothing. Some of the furniture will look like that. But it's made like that with memory metal. Then it's flattened out and shipped flat.
Yeah.
You can get more on it.
And once you heat it, it'll go right back to shape.
Yes.
All right.
And this is other chairs that are molded like that, you know what I mean? And this is a kitchen unit, if you wanted it, in your dome. The refrigerator's round, so the shelves rotate, otherwise you can't get the stuff in the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you understand that? And the shelving comes down, you put the dishes in, and push button and it goes back up. This is a launching unit. You know what that means?
Launching unit.
Put an airplane out and launch it. It doesn't need to take off. If there's somebody lost at sea or some accident on a boat, that can launch a plane. And they go out there and pick up the people that are stranded.
And I have a question about the aircraft. What energy do they use? What kind of energy do they use to move around? Electrical energy.
Always.
And is that battery or capacitors?
What's that?
Is that going to be done by batteries or capacitors, the energy for the airplane?
Possibly a new type of capacitor.
New type of capacitor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because batteries don't have a surge. Capacitor can give you a surge of power. You remember these cars?
Yes,
They
yes.
can't touch each other. Streamline means no interruption surface. And then in the future, all the windows will be flush, not recessed like. And all the trains have a probe on them. I don't have it on this one.
Yeah.
But it has a probe that sticks out and discharges electrons. If you put them in a vacuum tube and there's an accident, the tube cracks open, it'll suck the air out of the train, people will die. So we don't suck the air out of the tube. We just use a probe to part the air molecule. And remember this clubhouse?
Yeah.
You have your golf clubs in there. You select what you want, you play, and you leave them there so other people can use it. Otherwise, your closet's full of crapola.
What about these buildings? Why you make them?
A curvilinear, which is stronger than a straight wall. So if you curve the surfaces, they're almost self-supporting. If you make it flat, you have to put struts in there. That's a power generator for the West Indies. If you have an island and two generators, the wind blows through there, turning them, they generate electricity. For the islands, we don't want to ship fuel out there that they burn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Instead of designing a building and filling it in, we do the interior job and we cover it. And that's what a building will look like.
Oh, okay. And what are these why would you need these cables to hold this?
To hold up the ceiling if you want to exhibit airplanes or things, you don't want any struts in the way.
Yeah.
So it's for exhibition buildings. That might be an agricultural building where they grow food inside. That way, if you have a drought or a flood, you're not going to get your food on time. But if you have glass buildings, you can predict when the crops will be ready. they'll come to fruition earlier inside a glass building because it gets hot in there. So it's a hot house.
So why don't they use these techniques today? Because it costs too much money?
They do to a limited extent. They have glass buildings.
To a limited extent, okay.
Yeah. And these are other people that are interested in astronomy and other things that have a different type of building.
Oh, okay.
So each building will be different depending on the internal function. Now this machine that you see here can carry these sections, which are precast concrete, and it lays them down in place so that you can make as long a production line as you need. The light comes in this way. The sun rises and sets in that direction. So then you have windows here. I'm explaining the thing.
Yeah, so
these are robots. This is to carry pipes. We don't want to say who's going to carry pipes or what kind of machine that. And this is a machine that can carry segments of a pipe. And this can carry different shapes.
Okay.
And this machine can grab buildings of different designs.
Okay.
What's that for?
You're caught in yes.
Okay.
Carry airplanes and buildings.
Machines to do different jobs. It's a space station. I don't want people out in space because then you have to bring them water and food. So on Earth we have a panel that can control everything inside that. So if you want to do research in chemistry, you have a rocket ship bring the chemicals up here.
Oh, okay.
And you do the manipulation on Earth. You don't have to send people out there. Because if you send people out there, you got problems. When they run low in energy, they go to a charging area and plug themselves in.
Plug themselves in, okay.
Yeah. And this is to carry oxygen, nitrogen, whatever you need down on. If you land on the moon and break the landing gear, you're going to die. So we send one ship there first that's automated. And then you land only if it's in good shape, so that you have a way of back in case you need anything. You don't have to go back to the Earth to get oxygen or spare parts. They're in these things. This is free form. When you bend it around like that, it can carry more weight. I think we covered pretty much.
I think that's everything.
See, kids don't know. If you show them an airplane, they say that's an airplane. But they don't know that it changes with time. That's what I have this for. So the kid says, is that the final airplane? No, it's not. It's just another transition. Those are models.
Thank you, Jacque.
Now sometimes, as normal people like to live in individual domes. But in the future, they'll live in apartments. Because there's dental, medical center in the apartment.
In the apartment.
And shopping. Just like an ocean liner.
It
has everything you need. You can go shopping for clothing or a box of candy for somebody. Whatever you want is in here. So I think the people of the future will give up living in individual houses. They'll live in mass housing that has everything.
But they have to give up the selfish immaturity that they have.
They can't immediately change everything. So that's to accommodate existing values. But in the future, instead of having a library and a camera center, it'll be part of this building. This is a glass building for growing food. Hydroponics, if you don't have good soil. We don't depend on it. There might be a whole area with lousy soil, like Egypt. They've exhausted the soil over the years. So we need hydroponics and air plants that grow on the air. And we need fish farms on the land, big circular fish farms where we raise fish. You don't need oceans.
Nets and all that crap.
You can raise them in the ocean and on the land.
And this water is going to be used, right? This water?
There's a canal for shipping elements of the structures and then putting them in place.
Oh, so the dry dock, like you explained, will be on the outside of the city?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It also keeps rats from getting into the city. They don't like to swim in water.
What if they want to go from under into the city? They can't do that?
Well, this is a bridge. And certain sounds keep insects and animals out of the city.
Wow, good. Ultrasound.
We work on a range of sound. so we have good control over it. And these are basically hardware for building models, different models.
Yes.
I used to have a big collection of old stainless steel screws and things. Well, the other building